Hello, good evening, friends. This is Shiva here, and thanks for watching my videos. And today, actually, I like to discuss about SAP S4 HANA. So, as everybody know, actually, we have plenty of commentary around SAP S4 HANA, with a focus of main being around the performance and new database tables. Right? Actually, we have in ECC we have the 27 tables related to all the material documents are now clubbed actually to MADDoc, the single table. So that actually the data can be fetched very fastly, and the data drilling from the report is very is in we can say is in seconds, and earlier it is 5 minutes 4 minutes like that in ECC. That is much more faster in SAP S4HANA. It is in seconds only for drilling the reports. So there has also been a plenty of confusion around what SAP S4 HANA is there. There are two different products: SAP S4 HANA Enterprise Management and SAP S4 HANA Cloud. So, what is the main difference between these two things within SAP S4 HANA? So, that is the thing. So, this video is focusing on the later part, that is um, what is actually what is the main difference? Okay, and the both the namings are is very close. Even the SAP S4HANA Enterprise Management and SAP S4HANA Cloud, both are looks like same, but the functionality or the operation mode is different. Okay, and so, say, as already know, actually the SAP S4HANA Cloud, right? Actually, all the, yeah, all the, what do you call actually, all the developments or version upgradation, everything can be taken through cloud. And SAP is just pushing that when customer contacts them, and then actually based on 3 months, once in a quarter, actually they are updating their S4 HANA on cloud. And SAP S4 HANA Cloud is a true software as a service solution that has set of pre-configured scope items. So it is a tailor made, right? That clients can select whatever they want and they can activate it. At the time of writing, actually the writing this the document, there are roughly 300 configurations items available to further grow the solution, but availability to add code into the system is not allowed. Okay, so we cannot do the coding in cloud, right? That is limited. So SAP has to do that. Any updation or the requirement to be developed, right? That is to be done by SAP, and it is pushed through cloud. So there is the ability to use some basic screen extension by adding in additional feeds. However, this is limited and performed in a highly controlled process. So SAP Cloud Platform can be used to build more detailed extensions. Okay, and to put this context within SAP S4HANA Enterprise Management, there are roughly 80 to 80,000 configuration items that can be accessed, and that is why the technical elements of these projects will take significantly longer and be more costly. Okay, and there is also ability to add custom code to modify the pre-delivered functionality on the ability to create a new transaction in system. Okay, and the difference in how you can build a solution will lead to different outcomes. On one side, you have the SAP S4 HANA cloud system that will be a standard, so follow the SAP best practice design and have a little wiggle room to deactivate from the standard. So there are different benefits to this standard approach, as it is ensure the solution can be built quickly, less effort is required in testing and training, and also the training of the end user also, and is easier to support after go live. Okay, and the enterprise management solution will move away from these benefits, Although it is worth noting, it is a client worth noting a client does not need to build a custom apps and extend the core. So there are just tools there for this. Okay, and circling the back on the purpose of the article, it is clear that in order to maximize the benefits from SAP S4 HANA cloud solution, a change in approach is required. And SAP is now a new methodology to implement SAP S4 HANA cloud, as everybody knows, actually activate. So it is a kind of agile methodology with the key difference, the fit to standard workshops with the client, that is fit gap analysis or whatever it may be we are saying, right? So previously, during scoping or blueprinting phase, paper based sessions would look as I mean as it is, and to be all these things, right? Process, and then look at the defining the to be process map. This was normally done without sight of the final ERP solution, and process owner were keen to make a new ERP tool as close as to the previous systems and process. This in turn lead to the significant enhancement to the new ERP tool, and driving up and to build the timeline cost and adding complexity to the system, so thereby leading to a higher support cost. Okay, it is a new world of SAP S4 HANA. There is only one way of doing things, and therefore concept of creating the fit gap to log the items that need a changing goes away. This is replaced with a system led workshop, so with the key business users to show how the new system will look. In practice, this can be draining exercise if the business user are not brought up to the speed before the workshop on a new methodology and the benefits that can be achieved with the standard system. So successful workshop will end with the business user identifying the changes to the existing process that are to be required, and the plan how to disseminate them. Actually, the workshop, that is fit gap workshops, are really important, and there only we can able to identify the gaps, and also what is the exact current process the IT consultant can understand, consulting person can understand, or what is to be mapped, that is to be recommended by the business user. So these are very core important things in the any project, even ECC or S4 HANA. So fit gap workshops are very important. So I mean, actually, say for example, the industry division within the client will also see the significant change. Okay, the first area of change is basis support, which is no longer required in SAP S4HANA Cloud, as is a part of annual contract commitment from SAP. Okay, this is important. So basis consultants support is not required in case of SAP S4HANA Cloud. So the real change in the approach to upgrades. Okay, so there is no need. So the cast your thoughts back to an early observation I made around the previous ERP solutions becomes complex due to the business requirement to modify the core system. This makes the system harder to support and therefore upgrade. Right? Actually, in old system, once it is in live, actually we cannot touch anything, and we cannot changing to the new environment or changing to the new process is very highly difficult. Right? So it have impact all around the entire enterprise, so they won't go for immediate change. Those problems are rectified in SAP S4 HANA Cloud, and some upgrades can take 6 to 12 months. And this is just a technical exercise with a limited new functionality, with the burden of work falling on the internal IT team. Okay, this led to the upgrades being delayed, and therefore the ability to access the new ERP functionality also limited. In the new world of SAP S4HANA cloud upgrades, so they occur once a quarter. So not only does the new innovation and functionality land within your SAP S4HANA solution, and then you have to take the upgrade. You cannot delay to avoid the upgrade. Change is required to move the fear linked to the upgrades. As a standard system is much easier to upgrade, the meaning the effort is greatly reduced. Okay, and SAP provides a 2 weeks regression test window, which is to be unconverted will thinkable. However, that is why the product is different. So these are important. Actually, the basis support is not required, and all these updates are taken through the SAP's contract thing. So they will push in every quarter, and so that these are the advantage. Actually, SAP provides 2 weeks regression test window, which is to be unconverted will be thinkable unthinkable. However, that is why the product is different. Okay. And so the last area to consider in the scope is, as mentioned at the start, the scope of S4 HANA is limited compared to the full ERP solution, and the ability to deploy this in a custom manner is not possible. So development is not possible with the developer ABAP, right? So that is the important thing. The changes or whatever the upgrade or the change in the process to be done by the SAP. The scope is growing all of the time, as within the quarterly release new functionality is being added. So some of this extension of core in terms of breadth, but other area of growth is utilizing new functionality such as machine learning, co-pilot, and analytical apps. So even actually, even though the ownership is within your team, you cannot do the change, as SAP has a annual maintenance contract kind of commitment kind of thing. So they can work on that, and then actually they even the updates or new release can be updated in once in a quarter by SAP. So any client, those who are looking for SAP S4 HANA implementation in their organization need to know, have this summary. So get the business ready for the change and move to the standard. This message needed to come from the top, and buy-in is required for this to be a success. Understand the change impacts on the internal system division in terms of roles and process, and plan accordingly. Review the scope of SAP S4HANA Cloud to see how it aligns with your requirements, thinking that additional functionality can be added on our process change is in wrong mindset. So this is very important for the business people, actually those who are interested to navigate to SAP S4 HANA. So as I'm seeing many times, actually the I mean, based on the client recent experience during the S4 HANA implementations for any new customer, to set the scene, the SAP S4 HANA was selected by the customer as a product, is the latest ERP solution, and they selected the on-premise 1610 as they felt the ability to extend the customize would be important during the rollout. Okay, they are keeping that as a important. The ask from the customer was pretty big. They needed 7 company codes covering 3 countries to be live with SAP S4 HANA in 12 weeks, with the business user only accessing SAP S4HANA via the Fury apps. Okay, this is really a good question. So the key to this project was quickly define. The key to the project was quickly define the scope. Right, that is important. Due to the time constraint, we focused on the best practices scenario that are available within the SAP S4 HANA as a base of the solution, right? So the new tools available to be quickly configure the system, enable the project team to create a working shell in a very few days of the environment being stood up, right? Like AWS systems and all. Currently when I'm working on one logistic cockpit portal kind of design, actually they are using AWS. And actually the client is thinking, actually, why we need the AWS? Actually it is a it's a new technology, we are not interested like that. So client understanding is different, and our IT understanding is different. We are focusing on the technology advancement, simplicity, and everything, whereas they will feel. I mean, they are already practiced into the new that old system. Why we need to new introduce a new thing, and it will strain them more like that. They will. Why we need to spend more time on the IT system? So that is their question. So they already have the day-to-day business activity, right? So they need to learn a new thing. It will be a time consuming job, and it is disturbing their work life balance, right? So we then actually worked with the customer to confirm the minimal viable product, with the main focus being on the controls within the system for approvals and automations wherever possible. So this enables us to confirm the additional configuration steps, the custom workflows, and the interfaces in and out of the system. In turn, this enables us to define the Fury apps that would be activated, which made up the core build. Okay, the final piece of jigsaw was the data migration, where master and transactional data from the previous ERP solution had to be closed or to be loaded into the SAP S4 HANA. So that is a that's a it's a kind of challenge thing. And best practice activation, and as mentioned above, activating the best practice scenario in SAP S4 HANA 1610 is pretty simple. This is even some sample data for you to play with. So however, the build is far removed from the real minimal viable product for the customer of the size that would use SAP S4 HANA. So I would recommend using the tools available, whatever currently available, but I would also encourage you to allow sufficient time to enhance the business process, and I would also check the full activation. Okay, and working from the standard chart of accounts, a number of accounts were missing and did not align to the account determination. So we also found confusing exchange ratio between sterlings and euros. Okay, and next point, customers of smaller ERP solutions will look at the traditional SAP guy, and this is a backward step. Again, one step back. The business user will complain very vocally around this traditional gray screen and the complexity that exists. Our customer was very clear that they wanted all the business users to only only access SAP S4HANA via Fury app. So thereby, when defining the list of Fury apps, we were just 100 on the first analysis. This number slowly started to creep up when we worked with SAP Fury titles and the navigation functionality to other apps. Okay, the number of Fury apps grew even higher when we reviewed the reporting apps that are available as a standard within SAP S4 HANA. So the benefit of the real-time reporting and having all the apps a user requires is a single place. So Fairy Launchpad was very attractive for the customer when they practice to work on SAP S4 HANA Fury user interface. The majority of the apps were easily activated. Some required additional nodes to be applied, or additional settings in the backend, or they need to contact SAP for activating the particular app in Fury. When planning a development of SAP S4HANA to a new customer to SAP, their SAP budget for Fury activation, extension, and bug fixing also to be considered. There are now over 7,000 SAP Fury apps. By the when I'm started creating the document, actually at the time it is 7,000. Now it is more than that. So it depends on the SAP as well as the business requirement which is approaching the SAP, right? So which is a fair chunk of these apps being clones of traditional SAP guide screens. Reviewing this list and defining Fury only roles will win support from the business user compared to SAP guide. So minimal viable product. So that is what I mentioned. This was a key to the success of the project. Being able to build what is only essential for the first release was a key to the project. So we need to concentrate what is the exact requirement for that phase that we need to consider, and rest of the things actually to be considered in the future release. So we are able to disclose a few items and move them into the other lateral. So that is called, actually we are calling as agile methodology. Actually S4 HANA is working on the agile methodology. So they need to fix a time slot for that, for completing one phase. And if suppose if the particular activities are not completed in the phase, they it can be taken at a later point of time. So we need to start the second phase actually without having linkage with the first phase. This is against a contract. Yeah, I mean major contrast with SAP as a SAP methodology. where actually the first phase output is linked to the second phase input, and so on, successive, so on. So each phase is interdependable in case of ASAP, right? So that is the thing that is important. So we are able to descope a few items and move them into the later drops, right? This reduces the build effort, which in turn reduce the testing and training effort. We had a 6 week build cycle with the two playback workshops to showcase the items that had been built and to clarify any issues. From experience, showing the solution prior to testing and training is a way of reducing the rework at the later stage of the project. It is much better to know the issues earlier so they can be addressed without impact the go live. Reducing the scope for the minimal deployment, right? SAP deployment is an easy way to speed up the implementation. So this might seem like just a common sense, but it is sometimes overlooked when planning. So business is normally moving from one ERP platform to another. If you keep some legal entities in the original solution, then you may be able to reduce the complexity to somehow. The same with be keeping certain process in this original ERP solution. Also, you notice actually we can reduce the number of consultants per module, and thereby we can reduce the team size when working with the Agile methodology or Activate methodology in case of SAP S4 HANA. And now next for thing data migration. So data is like the blood for the ERP solution, right? Backbone. Poor data or blood and you will have a poor system. When migrating to a new ERP system, deciding on the volume of data to migrate is always an issue, right? So loading up old supplier, customer, or materials that no longer be used provides a little value for the future system. Further, to all these systems stored in different formats such as chart of accounts and GLs and every all the FI data say therefore mapping may become an issue, and SAP S4 still has the ability to use LSMW tools which are simple to build and use and take the data from the Excel sheets. Okay, and allocating the current amount of time within the project to the data migration is essential, right? Constants. Yeah, here I like to tell one thing. So SAP S4 HANA is supporting many LSMW with the minimal with the simplicity. Okay, actually it is not complex like whatever we are using in earlier versions of SAP. Okay, so also the actually we need to consider actually what is the volume of vendors custom and customer or material master, whatever master data we need to consider, that will be an impact to the cost. Okay, and allocating the correct amount of time within the project to data migration is important, and constant iteration of data will be required, and they expect to load the same data objects 3 to 4 times to ensure the final productive process is seamless and accurate. Okay, and the team size. In order to successfully move a customer to SAP S4 HANA within 3 months, you will need an experienced team who are all focused on the same goal. The commitment to the timeline was driven by the customer, and they responded to our question and dedicated a number of resources from the business to answer our questions and prepare data. So we decided to use a few extra resources in the project to hit the tight time frame. We broke out the core build task and allocated additional resources during the build phase, and then scaled back the team during the testing and training phases. Okay, each consultant had their own unique area what they built, and the solution architect was required to ensure the integration between the different work areas. Okay, finally using the GitLab tool enabled the project management function to ensure whether we are on the track or are able to track and identify any slippage as soon as possible to correct that, so others could able to support that. And performing an accelerated SAP S4HANA solution require a fully focused team. Every task and day counts is in a small build window, clear and concise communication. So within the project team was essential. This and the project team should have a sync with each other. Okay, so That's what they are saying. Actually, clear and concise communication with the project team was essential, and having regular meetings, we are calling sprint meetings, right? And with the client, as well as the ad hoc questions and conference calls ensured we stayed on track.